Philadelphia's next move might be coming soon, with 2 ESPN insiders confirming the Birds' interest in Jaire Alexander while putting the fire out on Trey Hendrickson. But we now have a new report just yesterday revealing Howie's desire for a different corner that could change everything. Plus, the biggest surprises from Eagles Minicamp came from some unknown pass catchers. Philadelphia is doing something very interesting with Drew Mukuba. From Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. Okay, minicamp surprises aside for just 1 second, because trust me, I was pretty shocked at some lesser-known names that emerged during practice this week. But while the Birds were running around the NovaCare field without pads, everyone seemed to miss some major bombshells dropped this week in the Jaire Alexander, Asante Samuel Jr., and Trey Hendrickson situations that need to be addressed. First, we're less than 1,200 subscribers away from giving this bad boy away, which is the signed Kyle Schwarber bat given to us by Legends. And if you want to pick up one on your own with my discount code at shoplegends.com, link down below in the description box, promo code MOTT20 gets you 20% off. But if you want the free one because you're a subscriber, hit that red button, drop a like, and comment below, giving this bad boy away very, very soon. First, let's start with the least likely of the 3 summer additions in the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson, who remains a no-show at Bengals offseason activities, as the two sides are stuck in a contract battle that Hendrickson himself has said recently could result in the Pro Bowl pass rusher missing games this coming season. Pair that news with the very bizarre Shamar Turner news and the Bengals not wanting to sign their first-round draft pick, and Cincinnati's front office has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. And while I've said all along that Philadelphia has likely been out on the Trey Hendrickson trade for a long time because of his massive contract, we actually finally got the nail in the coffin for the pipe dream from ESPN's Adam Schefter earlier this week on 97.5 The Fanatic.
How about a Trey Hendrickson?
I don't think so. I would say no. I don't think that's practical. Now, sometimes you find opportunities that surface and you're like, let's if we squeeze here, we squeeze there, we get this done. But knowing what I know from the past, conversations with various people at various points during the offseason, I would say no, that I don't see something like that happening.
Hendrickson was always a fun idea, but having to give up a first-round draft pick and then sign him to like a $35 million a year contract, it was never really in the cards, and Schefter just confirmed it. Next, how about the hottest free agent name that Bird fans are all caught up on right now in the former Packers cornerback Jaire Alexander, who sounds like, according to Adam Schefter, is looking for the exact kind of deal the Birds want to offer him in free agency.
He had an offer on the table from the Packers, and he could have probably gotten more money there. He was not going to do a rework deal. It was either the current contract that existed in Green Bay or be released and choose a spot where he might not make as much, but where he would wind up doing a 1-year deal and keep his eye on free agency in 2026, if that makes sense.
Now that right there was a big revelation. Alexander is only 28, and technically some had thought that he could be looking for a long-term deal and a team willing to pay that price. But ESPN's Jeremy Fowler doubled down on this Alexander report from Schefter 1 day later on The Fanatic as well, and mentioned his desire for loyalty in a contender.
Talking to people that have been around him or close to him, that they believe loyalty is important to him, connection's important to him. That's why I do have the Eagles on my radar. With defensive backs coach Christian Parker was with him in Green Bay. They had successful years together. I do sense that they're pretty happy with the cornerback room, and they like how the two guys you mentioned earlier, Ringo and Jackson, have done so far. And they got the draft picks that they brought in that they picked in a high slot. So I think they're pretty comfortable right now. This is not a situation where they have to press for Jaire Alexander. It would be more just about fit and is it something that could put us over the top on that end? So that's why Jaire, I believe, is at least in a conversation.
Okay, so Alexander wants a cheap 1-year contract, a kind of a prove-it-deal situation on a contender so he can go ahead and play in the playoffs, maybe in a Super Bowl, and he wants an organization that has loyalty and treats its players well. Those are all Philadelphia Eagle traits. However, Jeremy Fowler also mentioned at the end of that clip that Philadelphia currently is excited about Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson, and that could heavily weigh their chances of going after another cornerback in Alexander. And I've noted this. Philadelphia so far, at least been saying externally, that they like what they see in Kelee Ringo, they've liked Adoree Jackson, and so all this could be for naught. But Fowler also noted that if Philadelphia thinks Alexander can't put them over the top, they will go ahead and go after him pretty aggressively. And all this just makes me wonder if Jaire is willing to be patient. Don't sign with the team right away and let the Birds try to see what they truly have at cornerback in-house once training camp begins. If Ringo pulls away and wins the job early on in camp, like we hope, then Jaire, go somewhere else and have fun. But if there's any doubt from Fangio or the front office, then Alexander should become priority number one. But of course, a lot of people have mentioned this with Alexander. A lot of people have speculated he wants a cheap contract. He doesn't want to sign with any football team. He wants to play for a winner. Getting the cold hard facts from Jeremy Fowler is a big deal, but it's technically nothing new. However, a lot of people missed this week the second half of the Jeremy Fowler interview when he was on The Fanatic and mentioned a new cornerback name, basically confirming Philadelphia has had interest that no one has been talking about.
And then, this other corner too, like Asante Samuel Jr., who was coming back from a neck injury, but he was one of the top free agent corners. He probably won't sign until late July, I would say. But I do know the Eagles have thought about that one, and that's on their radar as well.
Okay, so we finally have proof the Eagles are looking at the former Charger second rounder and technically son to an Eagles legend, Asante Samuel Jr. I, for one, personally am still shocked that Samuel remains unsigned. Like, sure, he is technically returning from a neck injury, as Fowler said, but he's just 25 years old and currently, through his young career, sits on 6 interceptions and would be technically a steal this late in free agency. So I did a little digging on his injury because that's likely the holdup, and what I found was the fact that he is likely to be cleared by doctors in terms of all playing activities come July, which I think is the main reason why he currently remains unsigned. Teams want to wait till July and confirm he's 100% good to go before pulling the trigger. Honestly, though, the revelation that Asante Samuel Jr. is a legit option for the Eagles has me pretty excited. Not because I like Samuel over Alexander or vice versa, because Philadelphia has 2 top cornerback options on different ends of the spectrum that if they need to pull a trigger, they could go ahead and grab. Alexander, for instance, is the proven All-Pro who wants a 1-year prove-it deal to play on a contender, something Philadelphia, as we know, could easily offer. While Samuel, much younger, 3 years to be exact, he's less proven, but because of his injuries, Philadelphia could acquire him on a longer term, say 2 or 3 year contract for relatively cheap, basically making multiple paths to victory for a GM who recently has been making all the right moves over the past off seasons. And to me, it does feel like July is going to be the target month for both of these cornerbacks here because you want to make sure you get into a situation before training camp. And as we mentioned, Philadelphia reports for training camp on July 22nd, and so stay tuned. The cornerback market could heat up very soon. Now, flying back to Eagles Minicamp earlier this weekend, the buzz surrounding the pass catchers behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith was much higher than I anticipated. Starting with, of course, Jahan Dotson, who, by all accounts, looks leagues better than he was at this point this past offseason. The Inquirer Jeff McClain noting recently, quote, Jahan Dotson benefited the most and was often Hurts's first outlet. He caught every pass I logged in 3 open workouts. He didn't see the ball very much in the first season with the Eagles for various reasons, but the former Washington Commanders first-round pick who was playing in the last year of his rookie contract has consistently flashed reliable hands. He could be pivotal if Hurts is forced to throw more this season. We do forget that Dotson did seem rushed and rather uncomfortable for the majority of his 2024 season following the last-minute trade to Philadelphia this past offseason. And while yes, some of his lack of production, as we could say, is attributed to living in an offense where he's at best option 4 or 5, but the Birds' deep playoff runs seem kind of like proof to me that Dotson can be the extra weapon instead of just another body running routes. I think, of course, with it being a contract year as well, and his second time around in a Philly system, a breakout year could be in play for the Birds. But, of course, we knew Dotson was going to be wide receiver 3. The question is, does he get 20 targets or 50 targets? That, to me, was not the biggest news from minicamp. It's actually the receivers behind Jahan Dotson who were really starting to flash. First in line right now was newcomer Terrence Marshall Jr., whose unimpressive NFL start in Carolina had me thinking he would be kind of an easy-cut candidate. But, according to Eagles CBS reporter Jeff Kerr, he said, quote, Marshall gained the trust of Hurts this spring, and the mandatory minicamp practice was the best of the 3 open practices to the media. Marshall got open over the middle on the field for a long gain early in 7-on-7s with the first team, and then he caught a touchdown pass from Hurts on a slant in which he beat Cooper DeJean. DeJean was playing in the slot. Behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson, there are 2 spots to be had amongst the wide receiver group. Marshall may be locking down one of them. Another receiving option also kind of being overlooked right now is tight end Nick Muse, who seems to have a strong connection with quarterback Kyle McCord, as well as the other pass catcher in Danny Gray, who was noted as a frequent target on the second-team offense this spring. Overall, right now, whoever wins wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5's position is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. We have to remember, though, Philadelphia benefited a lot from staying healthy in 2024, and the fact that you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson means you have a great starting receiver core. But, heaven forbid, knock on wood, what happens if one of them were to get hurt for, the entire season, part of the season, a couple of games? Who is going to step up from wide receiver 4 to 3 and actually make impact plays? That means winning this job is a lot more important than we realize. I guess the good news is, as well, is that the quarterback throwing the football to all these receivers and Jalen Hurts told the media just the other day that the entire receiver room is getting pretty darn impressive this early in the offseason.
I think that time has been valuable. It's been valuable working with Jahan, working with Terrence Marshall. We made a lot of big plays this offseason. Dallas, Grant, Harrison, everyone, Saquon out there, everyone who was able to go. and available, working with them and taking advantage of that was big. I think that's important for developing that, that chemistry. And we all know the season can go any type of way. And so just making sure you kind of can have a foundation of some sort with everyone is important.
Now, moving briefly to the secondary, and reporters noted that rookie safety Drew Mukuba was getting some starting reps in dime packages during 11-on-11s, which could actually be a brilliant way to get the high draft pick actually on the field in year one. Especially if Sidney Brown, for instance, were to win the starting safety job, meaning Mukuba would be on the sideline for the majority of the season. We do forget the Eagles hardly played any base defensive snaps last year, and while they primarily hung out in nickel to keep Cooper DeJean on the field, dime or quarter coverage is also a likely Fangio option. Clearly, Philadelphia loves their young safety group and wants to make sure they have chances to get all of them on the field, even if, for instance, Mukuba doesn't win the starting job week one. Either way, whether it's Sidney Brown or Drew Mukuba or Keely Ringo or Jaire Alexander or any of the position battles on the defense right now, the quote of the week for me was actually from Zack Baun, who told the Exciting Mike's guys just 2 days ago he thinks the Eagles defense right now in this offseason is leagues ahead of where they were at this same time in 2024.
I think we have a lot to do as a defense too.
Oh yeah.
Like to think that was all of our first year in that scheme.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's crazy. Actually.
Like what are we gonna do next year? Like
I know.
Already I feel like we're miles ahead of where we were last year at this time.
No, we're miles ahead, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Great thing.
Yeah.
We're having these high level conversations in OTAs. You know, we haven't really been thrown in the fire.
We're not even like planning for who we're like our offense, like who.
So a
we're
lot of
with.
what ifs.
Yeah.
That could help us,
Which
in
is
the future.
good.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is a great point we're all forgetting about in terms of how good the Bird defense can be in 2025. Everyone entering this year is 1 year more experience. Like besides that one safety spot and really the one cornerback spot, everyone else is where they were last season and hopefully a lot better. I keep wondering how much better a Birds defense that basically blanked people in the playoffs can be. I think we might find out pretty soon. I would not want to be the Dallas Cowboys come week one. Now, of course, if Philadelphia does anything the next couple of days and weeks, we will cover it here. But I also have a lot of fun kind of deep dives planned for the couple of weeks between now and the actual start of training camp, including some player interviews, working on those as well. Be sure to subscribe. Remember, we're very close to 97,000 subs. I'll give the baseball bat away and a whole bunch more coming up, especially when we hit 100,000 subs. I'm Thomas Mott. I appreciate you guys watching here on a Saturday. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.